might help so people can hear me. Oh boy. I'll be honest, I wasn't feeling it today. Not one bit. Was not feeling it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to stream, but I got to do it. I got to do it. So we're going to go get my restream going. Get my YouTube going. Get my Twitch going. Oy. So much. Bring that over here with YouTube. Ooh, I'm in the wrong channel. I'm going to go clear out my cache. Just so my banking data or something weird doesn't flash on screen. We're going to go live stream. Get all this stuff going. So, in talking yesterday about the problems that I was trying to wrap my head around, I talked to Darren a lot afterwards about that I think we're at a natural point where the game, the style of art, I suppose, that we're imagining in our heads, the limitations of the design of the maze system, implementing a direct clone of Pac-Man, presents us with a problem of either we change our art direction or we start to go with the square layout in order to achieve what it is we were talking about. And I think that's more likely the answer. So that is what I'm going to do. So we're going to go a square grid. It doesn't, if we decide it's not working, we can go to the other one. It's not really that big of a deal. I do get a bunch of stuff for free going with the square grid, and it would have made making a quote-unquote Pac-Man clone easier. However, it wouldn't have been a true Pac-Man clone. So what the short, I'm trying to say in a way that we're losing a lot of the work I did, but none of the learning. That's still in here. So what are you gonna? Anyways, so what I was doing is, since we're going in a whole different direction, I'm just gonna create a player sprite to start with. I'm not liking that. Like a gray. So there's our player. And we're just going to export this. Default player. NG. Man, I hate this interface, I'll be honest. Export. There we go. I'm going to be... I say that way too much, by the way. I'm going to be honest. It implies that I'm not. So... We're going to have to re-import without the filter on just to make it look pretty. There we go. There's our player. Now, let's get us... Let me just see. The other thing that we need to do is we've got... There we go. So Jake Gyllenhaal is going to play a Medal of Honor recipient. That was that news article there. Posthumously, obviously. All right. Let's try the game. And project settings, the default scene is correct. Okay, so let's go back over here. And let's try running again. So yeah, we definitely need to decide a good player size. I'm thinking I'm going to go 32 to start. I'm not quite sure why the game... Okay, so let's change the player sprite to be like 32. Oh, and I need to double check. Yep. Okay, so that's the stream. Sprites. Canvas size, we're going to change to 32. 32. Is it going to crop? No. We want to resize. You know, there's a lot about this system I'm not liking. I really don't like this. Gosh. I am going to move to Linux. It's going to happen very soon because I can't stand this weird jankiness. And a collision shape. Let's fix that. Collision shape 2D. Okay, 15 by 15. There's our collision shape on our player. Now we'll go back to our player on screen. Does that seem too small? Yes. Okay. Golly, what a waste of time. You know what? Let's go straight to the project. Where is it? Here's the player. Maze object. So we've got the wrong attached script. Let's go to the there we go. Now, because it was an instance of the other one, is that why it's... Oh, I haven't saved it either. What does this point to now? Player. Okay. Okay, so we've got some... On the process delta, we're doing the animation tree, so... we'll get rid of that. And that means we can get rid of the process delta. Okay, so we've got player movement still. We've got lean animations. We're going to get rid of all this. Okay, that shouldn't, it really probably shouldn't be happening there quite like that anyways. Okay, so this is the part where it let me go up when it really shouldn't. So that is confusing and needs to be addressed. And this is the part where I think the dogs, my dogs are a little joyous. Just a little joyous today. Hey, Colorfur, how's it going? Sorry I didn't reply to you right away. I don't know why I can't hear you. Hang on a second. Oh, my headphones are not sunk on the computer. Hopefully you're still there. Sorry about that. What have you been up to? Where's my code? There we go. Up, browser and code, Godot and Finder we'll put over there. Trello over here. Okay, so let's see if we can get the glitch happening again. So yeah, the graphics are not the most beautiful right now, but we're prototyping some changes. So that's the bug. Nice. Try direction X is 0. Current direction. Last direction is going north. Hey guys, how's it going? I don't have a lot of steam today, I'll be totally honest, so I don't know if I'm going to be doing a long stream. Because I'm seriously considering rewriting a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm afraid to start doing it. Not really afraid, but it's just like, oh no. Well, I'm starting to work on the engine for our actual, quote unquote game. And we've been talking, White Jesus has been on some of the streams where we've been talking about some of the problems we were having with using the Pac-Man maze engine. And so now here's that bug that I've got for some reason, but so basically, we're thinking about changing the the system altogether so that it's on a strict grid, and then with that, there will be a natural need to change the way the player moves. So it'll be more like I don't know if you're familiar with Kickle Cubicle, but a bit more like that. But if you imagine that kind of movement system, but in a maze. Yeah. Yeah, I think that the idea for the game that I was having in my head versus like I pretend to play it in my mind and go, okay, what kind of game is this, and like would people want to play it? And I think I would be basically making the quote unquote Dark Souls of Pac-Man games, which I don't think anyone would like, because I think that for modern gamers' tastes anyways, Pac-Man would be a little too hard likely. But yeah, I've got a weird bug with the movement where it thinks it can go into an area where it should be colliding with, but it is not. So I've got to figure out what's going on there. So yeah, unfortunately my stream's going to be a little boring with me kind of figuring things out. Here's the tile. So I've got weird old leftovers here in the tile system. So I'm going to delete that. And we're going to go back to... Oops. We got a lot of leftover graphics from our testing. So we're going to have to clean that up for sure. Default maze, new single tile, right here, collision, booyah. All right, so we're back in business with that. Let's see if that fixed it. Maybe it was some weird cruft. Yeah, it was some weird collision thing with the... Wow, boy, am I sure glad I tried that. Okay, so... See, we're moving on a grid. You might not be able to tell, but we definitely have our movement system on a grid. But there's no reason now, because of how we're going to do the movement, that I can't just tween the animation between 2 points. So that's likely what I'm going to end up doing eventually. Okay, so... We're going to have these obstacles. So we've got, so the way Godot does it on the scene tree, a scene is a prefab, I guess is what they call it in Unity from what I've heard. But you can have prefabs within prefabs within prefabs. So scenes within scenes within scenes. So like for instance, this is an instance of my player scene. So the player and all of its behaviors and stuff will be inside this scene. And then I can have my own set of elements inside there. Everything in the scene tree is called a node. A node is an object, so it's all object-oriented design. And they inherit from their base class. So in this instance, player is a kinematic 2D body. So it has a physics system attached to it, and you can, like in my physics steps in the player code here, I have this move and collide, and that performs a physics operation, attempts to move, and tells me whether or not to get a collision and stuff like that. So that's what's going on there, in case you're not familiar with Godot. So Colorfur's working on a new 3D game, and it's looking good so far. What kind of 3D game? And I know Cobalt, you're working on something that's kind of like a survivalist style game, or at least it's like it's got those kinds of systems. Does that sound right? All right. Okay, so what I was saying though is in the scene tree here, Godot, you can think of the draw order as being from top to bottom. So the ground is, this thing called ground is drawn first, then obstacles, then we're going to have something called a ground state. Maze is next, and then maze state is after that. And we may have a foreground as well. Maze is the middle ground. You could think of it as the middle ground. And obstacles and ground are the background. So first thing I can start getting in code is, let's imagine the maze, this particular maze starts like this, and there's like a turn that you can go down. Now the sizes are all subject to change. The math of the player movement is based off of speed times tile size. So if we scale, it should, the feel of the player movement should stay the same. Obviously the scale would change it. But the first thing we're going to want to do is, let's say we have a red obstacle here, and that just kills the player if the player moves on that. So this is where I got to start some code. So we're going to attach a script here, inheritance tile map. That's the node type that we're coding for. And then we'll throw this in scripts, and whoops. And we're going to call this, let's get serious about our organization here. This is going to be, oh man, go and spill a drink, why don't I? It's going to be, here we go. It's almost as if I knew this could happen one day and had a cloth ready. All right. I've got I don't have my programming glasses on. My wife got me these really nice glasses that have green light filter on it or something like that. They help get rid of this kind of the blue light. It helps get rid of some of the screen noise. A 3D snake, but the earth is inside out. So like a snake game? So like the old school like Nokia phones. You might not know what I'm talking about because I'm old. Which, funny story, I'm actually getting one of those phones again because smartphones are like cigarettes for me and I need to get off of them. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so we're gonna call this this folder for the code is going to be stage editor. And I did it again. I can't believe this. Oh. All right. It's almost like my desk has a shelf for a reason. And maybe I should start to use it. No, I don't have a laptop. No, my computers are actually like way up here. I'm like a drunkard. What was I doing? Obstacles. So this is going to be the obstacle. Should I break this out into... We're just going to call it obstacles. Obstacles.gd. Create. So there's our script, our new script for our obstacles. And I'm going to right away just copy. You know what? I'm going to change the boilerplate too, because I have some code for a basic state machine that I like. I tried using a bunch of different people's state machine code, and I did not like it. So I made my own, which is in maze enemy. So let's change. Here's our finite state machine. And how do I change the boilerplate? Editor. Script templates. Script templates. Script templates. So if I just do new script, script templates, with, we'll call it finite state machine template default create. And there's our finite state machine. And we're going to throw that in there like that. Enums be empty. Let me go through this process again and see if I can carry in. Let's do a new script. Inheritance language template finite state machine test. We'll just test it, create. And it did nothing. Why is that? Well, whatever. We're going to let it go for now. Why Jesus? Be right back. Got to load up on snacks. By the way, the nest was a bomb. I looked at some Dark Souls reference, and even their nest looks clunky. I'm going to take a new approach and try again tomorrow night. Oh, man, I hate that. White Jesus. I know you're not there right now, but that's how I've been feeling on my past couple of streams. Like, I'm hitting walls, and it's like, well, this idea is not going to work really well. And it sucks. So I'm wondering if I should build the state machines. Okay. So let's look at this from the basic level. So if I look at the tile map, if I go here, and we're going to search tile map, because that's our root object. So we get all this stuff for free. We get everything that it inherits, node, 2D, canvas, item, node, all that stuff for free. Oh, I was just saying, I feel like I know that feeling of like kind of having a wash where you're doing all this work and stuff, and then you come back, or you reach a point with it. You reach a point with it, and you're like, well, that was nothing. like Taoism or some sort of like Buddhist monk, I have to blow the sand off the sand, beautiful sand painting that I've made because it was for naught. That sucks. But I honestly, that's how I've been feeling the past couple of days. I've been streaming and doing this stuff. Is like, it's me just thinking about the problem and then kind of feeling like I've wasted it. That's good. That's not a total loss. So, So I still have the base. The base issue is to say that a player is or is not on an obstacle. And what is an obstacle but something that can affect the player? So let us say, so we are going to need to make it where you can select an obstacle here. We'll have a tab up here in the level editor that you can then change some features about the obstacle, because we may have something like a conveyor belt. And so if this green stuff is the maze and it goes like this in like different directions, I'm going to make the ground invisible for now. Then, and please don't, this is not, obviously not anything that the game's going to actually look like. So let's call that a maze. We might want to set properties for the conveyor belt. For instance, one, what direction is it pushing the player in? Oh my gosh, there's so many gameplay implications. Wow. My head just exploded with some realization. Yeah, that's kind of the thing is, yeah. Well, to start with, regardless of what direction we go in with the, so the thing that made my head explode and realize a few things is like the idea of a conveyor belt. If I go with the kick-o-cubicle movement, which is you push a direction and you move one tile over, a conveyor belt would only pull you. It could only successfully pull you. It's not like you could keep moving against it and keep moving in the other direction just slower, unless I make it turn-based. If I don't make it turn-based, then we could only have the idea of a conveyor be something that you push the button and move onto, and then it'll pull you. Otherwise, if it's going against you, you wouldn't be able to go that way. So maybe conveyor belt's not the right example. If we keep the Pac-Man movement where the character is moving on a like a momentum basis, and the conveyor belt is going a certain speed, then you just run the two against each other mathematically, and you get a sensation of being that you're going the wrong way on like a people mover or something like that. So it does dictate what ends up happening in that regard. But the first problem is the same, which is to say, I need to detect the tile that we're on and exhibit some connection between the player and the tile. That doesn't change. That problem stays the same. So, what we're going to do is on the player side, however, okay. I'm just trying to think of how I should send the signals to each other. Well, it's in a tile map, and so I can get, there's a few ways I can get the present tile. Yeah, no, I can do that. It's just I'm realizing that if I don't decide how the player movement is going to work right now, then I have to do this in a way that I wouldn't want to if I knew exactly what we're going to go with as far as player movement is concerned, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's world to map and map to world. Those are the two functions where I can take and give it on a tile set and go map. So world to map is the one that will return a tile map coordinate based off of the vector coordinate that I give it. So it'll tell me exactly on the grid where it is. But I'm trying to decide now. I'm just trying to think about, do I have the obstacle tile map check the player where the player is, or do I have the player I can constantly send it. If I'm not going to do anything where the player moves in the scene tree at all, which it shouldn't, then I'll do it on I can do it on the obstacle level. So I can go I can go on function process delta and I can say with the player maze player. I don't like doing these direct connections like this. I do like typically to work strictly with signals, so I may change this eventually, but whatever. Player position and the player's center point so the player's position is the center of the sprite. I could do top left, but I'm not doing that. So if we do self on world to map, and this gives us player's current coordinate on the world. However, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about a few different things here. If I'm sharing the same grid size for the ground, the obstacles, and the maze, then there can be a global. It doesn't matter where necessarily, but I'm thinking more and more that I should do it on the player level, because this grid point that the player is going to be at is going to be the same world to map. So we'll just I'm just going to print this out real quick just to see that we're getting the right data. Invalid index, null instance. Is it because I'm nesting the... Can I just print the player? Let's try that. Okay, that works. Object null. So it does not like... Let's go back over here. So I've got to do get node. I guess once you add that get node, like that, and this is going to be node path, and I think this is relative, so I think this will do child position on null instance. Now I don't remember the node path stuff, so we'll go, let's get that going here. Can I duplicate? Yes. Node path, because I can't remember this stuff off the top of my head yet. Sibling. Parent node. Sibling. Child node. What is wrong with... Do I have to go out? I think I have to go out a layer. Where am I? Where's my code? There we go. So I gotta go out and then in. Yes. All right, there's a player position. So there's our tile coordinates. Okay, so world map var player tile and okay, so that's that. Problem is, so this is the other stuff that I'm thinking about is what do we consider a response? If we keep the Pac-Man movement where the player momentum is on its own accord and it keeps going based on the direction you've selected, then we would want an action to occur the moment the player begins to touch, to pass over the next to the next tile. I guess each tile might have its own. Each tile might have its own behavior that makes it act a little differently than that. And that's where I'm also in my head, I'm starting to think, well, do I need to make individual objects on a per tile basis, which I think is what I'm going to eventually do. So this is it's kind of hacky to start with, but essentially each of these tiles themselves are going to have their own behaviors. Therefore, I'm going to have my own scripts sort of attached to them, which is not a default behavior within Godot, but I can easily set that up within the custom script. And so they'd have their own state machines and things like that. And beyond that, I think that would make sense, especially because a tile may, like right now I have these color representations for them. These could mean anything right now. Like this could be a teleport one. So if you have a blue, you teleport to green or something like that. So that can be something I can mess around with. But the state of the tile could change as well. But there's different ways to think about how to handle that as well. Like if we have, for instance, if this was a conveyor and we're having it go one way and then the state of it changes to go in a different direction, we can continue to use the same tile and just change the animation stuff on it and have that happen on the tile's state. But then there may be times that we want to actually... Okay, so we'll do it on per tile basis, I think, for now. I can't think of a reason not to. Sorry for blinding everyone with my clicking around. Okay, so we have the player tile on every frame step. So now the next thing we need to do is check against it for our different obstacles. So we'll get an array of our obstacles, which are just the cell tiles. Get used cells, get cell. Okay, so we're going to go var get cell. We don't know the name of the var yet. Present. So I'm calling it player tile. Player cell, and then that's going to be get cell player tile. Okay, and we'll do a breakpoint here. Expected at least 2 get cell x and y. They seriously have to break it out. Oh, there's got to be a get cell v. Here we go. Get cell v, so I can send it a vector. Get cell v. Okay. And we'll set up a breakpoint. And we're going to look at the res step. All properties for a given tile should be stored as properties, including visuals and instance objects. Right. So what I'm going to use for that is what you're saying. Yeah. So I'm going to be using the cells. This is 0. This is 1. This is 2. This is 3. And so as we add different types of obstacles, the index of each obstacle type is just going to grow in this list here. Since this is like our default level editor where we're going to kind of create levels without any look to it, the structure of that, all of this should allow us to easily change the tile set, which is the look of the tiles, so that we can have different like looking worlds and stuff, but still have the same kind of object references that we can throw them in. So if we, for instance, if we have like a desert stage, the ground is going to have like, sand look to it and all that stuff. The obstacles themselves may have the same consistent look, but they might also look like they're kind of like worn from being in the desert, or if it was a jungle, they might have leaves on them or something like that. But something that communicates to the player the same rules exist between them, but something to make them also look unique within the stage they're on. But yeah, so each index of each cell index is going to be the thing that the object code that has the states is tied to. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. What was I doing? Oh, yeah. So I still need, on the debugger side, I still need to get better at, like, if I step out of this, I lose my variable that I was looking at. Because it was the last step. I want to see what it got without having to do a print. Do I have to do like, I could do this. I could do breakpoint like that manually. And then we'll just run it and player cells -1. That's because it's empty. So yeah, -1 represents an empty cell. Okay, so then our first if statement will say if player cell let's see what happens here, because I think this will still be true even with the -1. Yes. Okay. So let's check the numerator here so that it's a legible reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. So here we go. So if player cell is not in an invalid cell, then we do something. So let's see if that works. Now, when we go over the red, we should stop right at the halfway point. David Godot, how's it going? How are you doing tonight or today? Most people watch me from are in Europe, so I wonder if you're in the in that vicinity or Africa. But that time zone I usually get viewers from. Okay, so we're hitting it right when we're at the halfway point. Georgia. The country, not the state. Well, welcome. I hope things are going well in Georgia. Just as a human. Not in a geopolitical sense. I hope things find you well. Okay. So yeah, what's going on with me, what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to build a movement system for a game that was originally a Pac-Man clone and is now turning into its own little thing. And I could show you the Pac-Man side because it actually looks really legit. Not like this, I promise. But I'm working on systems, so I'm building like a level editor and things like that right now. So this really is not the best time for as far as like having something pretty to look at. It's definitely not pretty. So I apologize for that. So right now, I'm just sort of playing with what I got, which is that the minute we have one of these set cells that I'm calling an obstacle, we break. And I'm trying to decide if I want the obstacle to respond to the player the moment they're over the center point of it. In which case, I need to do some sort of shifting of the position coordinate that I use to check whether or not we are on a different cell based off of the direction that the player is traveling. Presently the player can only move on the center points of any given cell, if that makes sense. So you can only change directions if you're passing a center point of a cell. Yeah, I agree too, Cobalt. I think there's two situations I have to consider. One is, am I going to go with the step movement of like Kickle Cubicle? And the other is it going to and is it going to yeah, so how is a player movement going to work is going to dictate some of this, and how what kind of behaviors am I going to have the tiles exhibit is going to dictate some of this. Sorry, I'm just sort of going back. I'm David, I'm programming in Godot, but I'm using VS Code presently. Godot is an open source engine. FO tweening between grid points that you already have figured. Yeah. And then once the tween finishes, then we do the check. That would be a consistent way to do it. But then I lose the yeah, I think that's the way to go. Which means I have to start changing the player code. Do I still want to do collisions? Because yeah, I can get rid of all this. The player movement code is pretty nuts, just given what I'm doing. It was originally for that Pac-Man movement. So if I go back to a more like Hiko Cubicle movement, and yeah, I can tween between cells and then fire off a check once the tween is finished. Then we're in straight puzzle territory. Yeah, suddenly all this code can go away. But that puts me down the path of a very particular style. And I'm just not quite sure. Let's do it. I can always undo my code. So now I'm about to break the entire movement system that I wrote for our Pac-Man clone. We don't even care about cell center. We don't whether or not we're going X or Y. We don't have to care about that. The player is angling the controller to do both. We don't need to send these out. Last direction we can keep. This can go. Uh-oh, it's shrinking. That can go. Yeah, we don't need any of this. Maybe tri-direction? Because we'll keep that concept. And physics process steps. I want to start streaming making my new game in a week or so. What are you working on, David? We got everybody in here right now is working on a game in the chat. So, yeah, I guess what are you working on? What engine is it? Are you doing something from scratch? Okay, so we're gonna do var input. We're gonna get the player's input. Uh-oh, I've got a text. My wife is yelling at me. Oh, goodness. Oh, cool. Yes, please. My daughter wants, she saw this and she wants it. And this would be perfect for the backyard. Is it going to focus? It's one of those little play pools. She's really eager to start swimming on her own. Yeah, Miss Cricket is my mom. My mom? What? Freudian is my wife. Oh, goodness. She's going to kill me. My mom. I'm so used to calling her mama in front of my daughter. That's funny. Well, that was weird. It's so funny. I used to watch movies and wonder why parents would do that. And then I had a kid and I was like, oh, I get it. Because there's nothing worse than having like a 4-year-old call you like Matt or like your wife, Trisha. anyways. Input. So, hey, guys. Oh, no, don't clip it. Ah! No! Oh, man. That's so embarrassing. So here's a question for you guys. I think I should just cancel. Okay, let me lay out the scenario for you. So we're gonna have a movement system that's the same as Kickle Cubicle. So let me bring up YouTube here and let's look up Kickle Cubicle. And I'll show you real quick the way that the movement works in it. Long play. Let's mute the tab. Okay, the site is muted. That's good. Okay, so the way the movement works in Kickle Cubicle is you press a button to go each direction that you're going to go, and then the player stops movement, right? And you can keep holding a direction. I don't know how he's... Dude, this guy's doing like speedrunning tactics. What is he doing? He's got the movement. He must know a glitch for the movement. But this is part of the problem is, okay, so here's the problem. If the player is pressing two directions like down and left, which way do I pick that the player goes? I think what I'm going to do in this style of game is to simply cancel the movement to say, okay, you haven't given me an input that I want, that I can use. It's not like a clean one. So I'm simply not going to respond to it. I think that's the way to go. Because what I was doing before that, let me show you before that. I'll bring all this code back. I did all this kind of complicated code because it was based off of fast movements like in Pac-Man. And I would simply add the vector, the normalized coordinates for up, down, left, right into a vector. The last input creates some problems. So what I like, well, the reason why it doesn't work sometimes is a player can push two directions at the exact frame level. So the last coordinate would be whatever one I checked on, not what the player pressed. So I think what I need to do is if at any given moment they're pushing two of the same, like if they're going like down and right or something like that, that I simply just need to go, nothing's going to happen. You have to tell me you're going up or down, or left or right, very explicitly. And I'll just code it and see what it feels like. And let me I just need to steal the input function. Input. Okay, it's just straight input. Is action pressed? That's what I was trying to remember. Input is action pressed. So let me show you something cool about Godot, because I really like the way they handle inputs. So real quick, I'm just going to show this on the project level. You can give inputs a name. So you have your input map right here. You can give the inputs a name. And like I have player up, player down, player left, player right. And you can add keyboard, joypad, etc. that those buttons give that signal, that name to, that event to it. So it makes changing input maps really easy, because in your code, you're only looking for the event's name. You're not looking for the button, the actual name of the button. You can still check for those, but if you do it this way, then if you want to add a menu system to allow people to change their button mappings, you don't have to do anything in your on any of your code, because the buttons are now sending those names, the name of the action, if that makes sense. So it actually makes it var input. It actually makes that really nice. But I don't want is action pressed. So let me go, because I'm realizing I'm not going to be checking. So we'll do player up. Jeez, I'm gonna keep knocking that thing over. So we don't even. It's not a variable. That's what's tripping me up here. We're not. If. And then we'll let's copy this. We're gonna do this for each of them. Player up, player down, player left, player right. And so what we're going to do is represent tridirection equals plus equals. Technically, I don't have to do this for the first one. Tridirection equals plus equal play direction plus equals. Is it plus equals? Plus vector 2. So we're getting the enumeration for up here, and we're just going to keep adding these up. And the reason why I'm doing this is because then we can simply check against this value, and then I know it seems like a lot of extra stuff here, But that way I know for a fact that they're only pressing a single direction, because it will never be true that if any of these had multiple, if their button was being pressed multiple times, try direction. So say they were pressing up and left. Try direction equals vector 2 going up will never be true in that case. So want to make something fun and easy. Robot Wars multiplayer would be a good choice, I think. Robot Wars multiplayer. Yeah. Cool. What engine, David, what engine are you using? Or which do you prefer? Or do you just roll your own? So, Unity. Gotcha. I think White Jesus is using Unity as well. Cobalt, I'm not sure what you're on. I know we have somebody else in the stream, I think, still. Colorful wasn't... He's working on something interesting, but I don't know. He told me a little bit about it, but I didn't quite hear the rest of it. So we need to get the tweening going. So we got to go tween. So I forget, guys, is Unity and Unreal, is that primarily C++? So if try direction, so basically we're kind of intentionally muddying the data so that when we do this if statement, the logic is sound. So actually, no. What we'll do is a match. We don't need a giant if statement after this. So we just do match, and then we say we're matching try direction, and we're gonna say vector up. Do we do something? Vector down, we do something. Vector left, we do something. And if it's a vector right, we do something. And you know what? We're going to have an edge case here right now. I'll just do we'll hit the breakpoint here. Because if we hit that breakpoint, then we know that the player has pressed both... well, actually, it would also occur when there's no... so we'll just do vector 2 then, and we won't do anything. And these should be vectors, vector 2s. I don't know why they're showing up as green, because I don't believe... Oh yeah, you can just have plain old vector. Oops. Okay. So if it's just plain old vector 2, is it going to let me do that? How about like that? Is it complaining because I've got this guy I haven't done anything to? It's not going to like that. Oh, it does. Okay. Okay, so let's see if we hit that breakpoint. Physics process. So the player's not going to move anymore right now because I just broke all that. But if I do an angle, we do get the breakpoint. And let's try hitting right, left, up, down. Okay, so we can correctly establish only when they are pressing a single direction. That's good. And so let's mark this code a little bit. I'm going to comment what I've done here. Append add each direction input into a vector to compare against to prevent having to choose between two directions. Okay, and that's a lot of words there. I can add each prevent comparing multiple input directions by summing the vectors. The cardinal. Okay, that's a better way of putting it. Prevent comparing multiple input directions by summing the cardinals. Okay, so we're gonna now we need to actually tween the movement of the player between the two blocks, so to speak. We can call them blocks now. So based off of that, we're going to tween. And this is the part where I need to recall how to do the steps on tweening. Okay, so we interpolate. So there's different ways of interpolation. Yeah. So I was doing some of this for the ghosts to leave their homes originally. How about you sum all the inputs in vec2 and check if x and y is less than 1. Yeah, so it would end up being, in that case, if you could somehow press up and down at the same time, that would... so this would, in theory, work on like a Switch controller where you have the chiclet keys that aren't necessarily D-pad, and you could press up and down at the same time. It should still technically... That would zero out. So in that scenario, if you could press up and down and then right, you would go right. So it doesn't account for everything, because those would cancel out. So it doesn't take apart. It doesn't. It's only good on controllers. I've got to think about that a bit when it comes to the keyboard, because in the keyboard you could press all of them and they would all zero out. You wouldn't go anywhere. But like I said, if you press, say, left and right and then an up or down, then you would go up or down using this logic. So it's not fail safe, which now you're making me write a to-do. Thanks. Make sure we come up with a better way for keyboard inputs. Thanks, Color Fur. You just created more work for me. I'm kidding. All right, so let's write our move function. So function move. And question to myself is, I should do this on our maze object, which is the parent object of player. And we'll call it move. That's pretty straightforward. function move. A lot of this stuff is just going to go away. David, I'll mention in the stream there's a link to a Discord server, and we're growing people in the Discord. It's the big picture idea with it is to eventually get people who are working on games together that are serious about completing games, to help kind of be there for each other, I guess, and like just go through the process of like maybe working through a particular problem or something like that. Not necessarily like how do I code X, Y, or Z, but I'm sure there'll be cases for that as well. But just more of a union of like-minded people working on game dev. So if that's something you're interested in, and you know what, we're going to call it move2, and it's going to take a vector 2. We're going to call it move2 cell vector 2, and is that how you? Yeah. So that's a strict data type, and player move2. So we'll do, let's try right, because that's the first direction we're going to need to move. So we're going to go move 2, and we're going to give it the cell we want to go to, not the coordinate. So we need to know. So, no, we don't. We don't need to know that. It'll be moved to right. Move to left. And move 2 down. And move 2 up. So if any of those are the inputs, then we go move 2, and I'll just take a breakpoint on that to make sure we're hitting it on inputs. Move to parse error. Oh, whoops. Why did I do the colons? We don't need those. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we got our breakpoint. Okay, so that's working on that input. Now we need to determine our tween. So we've got tween. We've got our, let's go back over to, this is something that I was struggling with when I was making the Pac-Man clone, which is like, how do I talk? What's a good way to talk between the world, like the different world elements? Because I'm going to have my cell. Oh, since I was a kid. I mean, if I'm honest about if I had the right kind of guidance from my, I don't, how do I put this? So, I mean, my interest in programming video games goes way back. I first attempted to do this when I was like 12. And I got like an Apple II computer when they were super old, but I could like program on it and all that kind of stuff. But I just never had the support system in place from the right people telling me that I could do it, or guiding me in the direction of, if this is really something you want to do, you need to focus on these things. Of course, back then it was new to everyone anyway, so I don't know that anyone really could have. However, the pushing thing would have been really helpful. So, I got a regular job and did the like 9 to 5 grind for a long time and worked a corporate job and stuff like that. And eventually started working for myself. And finally I was like, oh, I'm getting old. I'm going to die. I need to do this because it's like something I want to do. It's like a bucket list thing, basically. And it's like a dream. And so that's where I'm at. You could call it a midlife crisis. Yeah, maybe. Maybe a little bit. But I mean, I've been coding. It's just been nasty web development stuff, and very unfulfilling. I mean, I loved what I did when I was working those kinds of jobs, but I just didn't get to do it enough. Is it Cables? Cables OG, how's it going? Please excuse the programmer graphics again. This is all just uh, really, really temporary stuff. I don't think I'm gonna need the. I don't like front end web dev. Oh yeah, no. Everything I did was back end. I mean, well, I had to do it all, frankly. But most I did. I was like you. I liked the back end. I liked like. I was dealing with a website that was a high traffic website, about 300 hits a minute, and it had million record database, multiple tables and stuff like that. So the fun that I had in doing that stuff was optimizing queries, getting it just faster and faster and faster. It was just great to be able to like make it better that way, and I had complete control over that.
Hello, Cricket.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
What have you been up to?
Doing some JavaScript learning.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Ugh.
Are you on the are you on the stream right now?
Not right now,
Okay.
but yeah, now I am.
Yeah.
I just finished my 9-hour stream.
Man. What were you was it the JavaScript stuff you're talking about?
Nope. Just like playing some games. Whatever the chat wanted me to play, basically.
Nice.
What the hell is that keyboard you're typing with?
It's a mechanical keyboard. It's nice and clickety clackety.
Yeah, but what brand?
Oh, it's I have no idea how to say it. A-U-K Aki? I don't know. Aukey is what it says.
Well, yeah, you can hear it nice and loud.
Yeah, they're blue switches. I'm using blue switches. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, ever since I love mechanical keyboards. The old school keyboards were, I mean, if you still have one, they still work. They're just indestructible.
Yeah. I would really love one of those old Microsoft keyboards. Let's just find one.
So we're gonna interpolate on our self, and our self position is going to move from interpolate property, object property, initial value, object property. Do I have to put this in strings, I think? Let me look at their
What?
examples. I think I have to put it in a string. And then it would be self dot position.
Try looking at that picture I sent you on Discord. That's like the keyboard I want to have. Yeah.
I remember these. These were like back in the day in the 90s when I would go to the library. This was the keyboard that the computers there had.
Just it looks so fucking cool, I think. But I don't know if that's just me being a freaking nerd.
All right, I know I did some tweening code on the enemy stuff, so if I just look at it real quick, I just need to remember. Okay, so I was doing interpolate on method, and what's let's see, interpolate method. Okay, so string. Okay, so it is dictating string on the property. It's funny. I always have movement happen on a. I don't use tweening very often, so I'm like having to. So it wants the property and then the value. Okay. So these two are the same. And then our final value is going to be the cell. So there's got to be some code in here to determine the position of the cell we want to head to. So we have our cardinal value. So I forget, were you the one that was offering to help with the website, or was that somebody else?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, so the basic thing that I can't contribute much to it in sense of like the hosting, and that's about it. And then, getting some of the initial stuff rolling. But I figure if it's hosted on, if it's GitHub pages, then we could theoretically just set it up so that people can contribute things by with like a pull request or something like that. So that's how I'm kind of imagining it. And then the Jekyll system's pretty straightforward for building the pages off of a template and all that kind of stuff. Let's see, interpolate. Okay, so I need to get. We're gonna call this var move to position, and this is where we have to get it from our obstacles. So we do need to know.
But why are you giving the value of that variable move to position?
Well, what I need to do is I need to get. I need to ask obstacles where I'm. So let me show you. So if I'm here on the stream, if I'm here, there might be a delay between what I'm saying because you're hearing me right away. But if I'm at 0, 0 and I decide to move to 0, 1, then I need to get the position in vector coordinates on the screen of where that is so that I can move the player to the center point of that particular tile. So in that case, There's a few different ways to do it, but I just need to. It's funny because as I'm doing this, I'm kind of having to make some long-term. There's some decisions that I'm making that are going to have long-term impact on what's.
Wait, what happened to the Pac-Man clone?
Well, I've got that basically done. I'm going to spend about 10% of my time kind of wrapping it up. But now that we have kind of a proof that we can go through and make a game, basically, that I'm going to now move forward onto what it is I like, something different or unique. Basically trying to make like an original game, but using the idea of a maze and all that stuff that was gathered from doing the Pac-Man stuff, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the game, I can't show you it right now because I'm working on this, but the Pac-Man thing, I don't know what state you saw it in, but it actually, I mean, it was basically a complete game. I just need to. There's a few things I need to do with the level loading and stuff like that, and then I think it might have been you that had the idea of like a random stage generator, which I actually really liked. Just something that could make a new maze automatically. No, that wasn't you. That was Czar. Yeah. Anyways, so I think I'll do it on the maze. And I'm already, let me double check the maze object. We have current cell. So we have a global called current cell. Okay, so then we can tell move to position. If we go and we ask maze to get a position at a particular is it not cell? Get cell auto tile coordinate. No. What would it be? Map position. Okay, so map to world. Okay, so if I do map to world and I give it the cell by going current cell plus cell, I think that's going to give me the position that I need. Now let's just we'll set a breakpoint here. Let's see. Null instance. Oh, it's because it's a parent, so I got to do get node, and then what is it? Dot dot. That's gonna get the parent. So I can just do get parent. Forgot about that one. Get parent, because maze is the parent. Okay, we didn't hit the break. Oh, because I haven't picked a direction. There we go. So let's see what we got. Move to position 64, 0. Let's check the grid. And that makes sense because it would be 1. So the only thing I have to do is adjust the that position to be, because the player position is center of a 64 pixel square. So move to position equals move to position minus vector 2. No, we'll just do an add plus vector 2 with a negative. I guess it would be positive. So it'd just be 32, 32. That should shift it. So I could just do this math here, actually. And just to make this a little more understandable, we'll do var maze equals get parent. Go like that. Okay, so let's just make sure we now have, because it would be, what would it be? 96, 32 in theory. Oh, I lost my breakpoint. Oops. All right, what do we got? 96, 32. Good, 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 good. Okay, so now we can tween. So we're going to tween between these 2 points. And let me just check that I've got the right duration. So it still wants a bunch of stuff. So how fast do we want to move? Let's say we're going to move 1 second. And we're going to, there's an ease and a transition type. Let's do linear, and then we'll ease in. Let's see if this works. So it's mad about something. What did I get wrong here? I forget, what engine are you on usually? Oh, he's gone again. Object node self, node path property. Node path. Oh. So I gotta wait. Is that what it's mad about? Misplaced comma. Where? Position. Oh, it isn't declared on current scope. Tween. Tween. Can I just do tween like that? I don't have to. Okay, so that must be... All right, let's try it. I have a feeling this isn't going to work first try, but we'll give it a shot. All right, so we're about to tween. Did it work? Attempted to call function interpolate property on base null instance. Null instance. Null instance. So is that because it's a sibling? And I've got to go get node. And I got to go out and then back in. Yeah, because otherwise I would be calling... Okay, let's try again. Let's reload. Attempt to call null instance. Man, I still don't have the node pathing stuff figured out. Current, parent, sibling. Get node, tween. Did I? Oh, you know what? I don't know that I've saved the scene. I haven't saved the scene. It's the only problem doing this in VS Code is normally the scene would save automatically the next time I try to run. Cannot convert argument 2 from vector 2 to node path. Okay, I'm getting there. All right. Yeah, I loved the web dev stuff. I loved a whole bunch. Like I loved, you know, I loved making. Originally, when I came to that website, it was the code was a mess, and the every single page wasn't cached, so every single page was a query strike. You know, so I made it, you know, I don't know, getting caching going and getting the queries to run fast and having the website build itself from scratch on the fly when data would change in the back end. So that if you change something anywhere that data existed on any page, that it would refresh the cache for it, stuff like that. Using all that and having it, you know, having it blow through data like super quick was really cool. And then did all kinds of cool stuff on the back end. Did all kinds of because it was I worked for a biotech company, and so. I set up a shopping cart system between colleges and universities to allow them to shop on their store, basically, from ours. So they could purchase from within their system from ours. And, yeah, technically the other way could happen too, but that wasn't ever anything that was ever going to happen. Yeah, it was fun stuff. But the job itself... There was just some things that I didn't like about it. Invalid type in function interpolate property. Cannot convert argument 2, which is self position, from vector 2 to node path. So, okay, so maybe I've got the wrong, let me check. Node path property. Oh, okay. So let's get rid of this. So yeah, I think I have too many arguments. Okay, so we're not breakpointing. Okay, so what am I doing wrong? Because they were literally saying node path position. It doesn't seem like I should have to do this much to make a tween happen. So we're not getting the movement. Move to position. I know that's correct. This is the amount of time. Let me just float over here again. The object, the property, the initial value, the final value. Okay, so that's what I got wrong. So self, position... That's the initial value. The final value is the move to position. So let's try again. It's weird that it wouldn't yell at me though, but it's because still nothing. Let me try with it. Nothing. Let's check again. Let me just double check my. So we're doing object, property, initial value. Okay, what am I getting wrong here? Interpolate method. Leave on. I just got that in quotes. Starting value, ending value, time. Let's go back to starting value, ending value, time. So in 1 second. Okay, it's called position. What is the problem? Okay. Let me look up. They've got to have an example of interpolation. Tween is more suited than animation players. Okay, so here we go. Self. I mean, this is literally what I'm doing. Self, position, 2 vector coordinates. Oh, I got to start the tween. Oh my goodness, this whole time. Ah, well, that's embarrassing. So we'll go tween. I thought you could just call. That's funny. So it's just literally just not starting. That's embarrassing. Tween, start. Okay, so that should fire. Let's see. Let me restart the code. There we go. Okay, so we can move our player, and we're getting our breakpoint on the cell. Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, so we got our player movement. We're hitting the breakpoint on our cell. Let me just do pass. So let me just make sure we can move around. Can I go left? I can't go left, so we're not handling collisions anymore, so I got to set that up as well. These green elements are going to be collidable walls. So we've got our player movement worked out. So now we need to start checking for wall collisions again. The language that I'm using is called GDScript. It's part of Godot. Godot supports C# as well as C, C++, and it has its own visual scripting language. Well, you can't call it a language really at that point, but so yeah, GDScript, which it compiles really fast, and it's got access to the entire API, the Godot API. C and all those ones have access to it as well. And you can switch. You can do both. You could. There's the native elements with like C and C++. There's the mono side for C#. So you could code, like if you need something that's speed-wise, like you're simulating something and GDScript isn't fast enough for you, you can switch over to C# if you need it, or C or whatever. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's easy enough to understand. Having come from the web side, like web development and stuff, I think the gravitation towards a scripting language, having come primarily from most of my coding doing PHP. Yes, I use PHP. Yeah, it's nice. I like it. Okay, so we got our player movement. Let's get our collisions going in again for the wall. So there's a lot of extra stuff in here going on. Let me show you the structure that I have for some things. So there's something that I've object called maze object that all other objects within the maze that can move around and do things to the maze inherit. Then the player extends the maze object, right? And so this code here, move to, all other objects that are going to do movement stuff will be able to call this in order to change their present position. Although it's making me realize that if I do tweening for movement, I'm not going to detect collisions unless I interpolate using a method. Because if I interpolate using a method, then I can call my physics process for, they call it move and collide. So maybe I don't want to tween. Maybe I just want to move and collide. And then we would do it on a delta. I'm doing it in physics already, which wouldn't be the place to run it anyhow. So I pass delta to this function. And then we see this kind of thing that I'm doing here that I'm struggling with, like copying and pasting and doing it for each. These are keyboard shortcuts. I really need to learn how to use them in VS Code. So maze object, we're going to pass the delta across. Then we know where we're trying to move to. We're going to get rid of our tween code because I don't think I'm going to use it. And we're going to, because we still need to check for collisions on enemies and things like that. So we may as well have the movement dictate that. So now we need to okay, so we'll use the speed. Move to position is where we're attempting to move towards. So we're going to go. delta times speed. Cell is our direction. Next position. Move and collide. Cell. Move to position. Next position. And we need to snap it. So if we're so we need to consider that eventually we're going to move past that position. So like if I just run this code, the player's going to move indefinitely in a direction, I believe. Oh no, I'll just stop automatically based off of my press. Okay, so we are getting the collisions. We're not handling them, but we are colliding, so I can't go into the maze walls. Okay, that's good. So there's that breakpoint I was talking about. Pass for now. Player has pressed more than one direction. Player has pressed no direction. All right, let's go back to what I was doing. Okay, but we want it to keep going. I picked a direction. We're moving to that direction, and we keep continuing until a certain point. So we still use a tween because we want to... So we're going to tween a function, right? And in that function, we'll handle the collision side. So, because the tween will handle time. Once you choose a direction to head into, you're committed to go into that direction. See, these are gameplay choices that I'm making right now that I'm not sure about whether that's what we want. Which is to say, if you press and start going in a direction and you change your mind, do you have to? Does it need to wait until you reach the new point, or should we immediately change directions? And to keep part of the Pac-Man feel, I feel like you should be able to change your mind. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, let's shoot, I gotta decline that. Hang on a sec.
Hey, Uncle Matt.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, what about you?
Doing good. One end that the headset will plug into. That one should be pretty obvious. The cord, the other ends have two different cables. One has 5 of the black bars.
Okay.
Or no, not 5, 3. Sorry, 3 of them. And then the other one has 2. The one with 3 should go in your controller, and the one with 2 should go in your
Computer?
yeah, in like the microphone in on the computer if it has that.
Alright, put that in. It doesn't have the microphone, but it has like a headset.
So hopefully that'll work then. That one then. Wait, do you? What was the question?
I plugged in the mic to the extra cord, so the when you plug in the mic to the, it should be like an open circle that plugs something into it. So
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. And now if you open up on Windows, if you go to and I can't remember honestly what it's called, but the sound options and there should be like an input. Um, I don't remember. It's Windows 10, I'm guessing, right? Yeah. So if you search, if you bring up the uh, three ways to open. So on the bottom right hand side, is there like a speaker icon near the time somewhere? Is there an arrow pointing up? I do. Okay. Okay. How's it going?
good. Changed a lot.
It's called getting old. Same for you.
Right? Alright, so this is what I have right here.
Okay, so search in there. Search for
I put as SO, so I have sound settings and sound mixer options.
yes, sound settings. Click on that,
Alright.
and now can you bring it out a little bit? Is there anything about recording?
Recordings.
Input. There we go. Input.
This one right here?
No, not internal. So you have the right one selected. Is there? Yeah, there's a test your microphone.
Alright.
Yeah. So if you click on that and you try talking, hopefully this works. So this cable was only like $7, so I figured it was worth a shot.
Yeah. Alright, so alright, let me click on it just in case.
Well, not troubleshoot. You gotta click. I think you gotta click on the microphone icon. No.
Icon, yeah. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
And it's
yeah,
not-
it's not working.
Digital audio interface.
Digital audio. Where's that at?
Oh, it's the drop down choice that you have. What was the other one? Internal microphone. I mean, that's you can do that, but that should be the microphone built in on the laptop.
Yeah, no, it is. So. Alright.
Shoot. Okay, well let's try just as an experiment. Let's try the other way, where you take swap the 3-bar plug that you've got plugged into the controller, plug that into the laptop, just to see if it works.
Do that. Alright, 2 cords in the controller. Oh, there we go. Hold that.
And I've got to hang on a second. I got to mute you for a second. Okay, guys, I got to go. This is my nephew. He needs some help, so I'm gonna take off. But I appreciate hanging out on the stream, and I'm making some progress. It's interesting the difficulty of deciding what to do and how that's going to affect the way the game plays. So I do think I need to use the tweening, obviously, to get the time stepping right. But I need to still check for collisions. So I've got to update this a little bit, this code here. Who should I raid? How do I do that? Hey, what do I do? I'm an old man. I don't know how to raid. What do I do? Raid channel. I'm clicking raid. Pick a live channel to raid. Channels I follow. Well, let me see. I guess I should follow. Connect to Twitch. Oh. I'm gonna mute that. Godot. There's a guy picking his nose, so we're not going to choose him. Full stack web developer. Let's see, game development. I'm searching. White Jesus is teaching me how to use.
Alright. Let's see. Alright, so.
Yeah.
Alright, so I got the. I think it's working now. Let me go live on Twitch real quick. Just blah blah. Everyone's gonna watch me. Alright, so let me look at Twitch real quick. You live right now?
Yeah, I am. I'm just. I'm closing out here real quick. Hanging out. Okay.
I have 41 followers on Twitch. So. Just hit that like 2 weeks ago.
All right. So there's Lana Lux. Gonna raid. Have a good one, guys. See ya. All right.
Alright. Turn off my desktop audio. Wow. You just closed the stream like that just for me?
Yeah. No, I was in the middle of I was kind of at a stopping point. No, I stream.
So,
Oh yeah.
how many viewers do you get?
Not very many. So I'm doing like game development, so programming and stuff like that. So just a very specific set of people. But I'm trying to build it up, so it's going along.